All right, we're going to do a little review today. So, we're going to go back in time to when we learned about adding decimals a couple months ago. It may feel like a million years ago, but it wasn't. All right, so let's review. So, when we're adding any numbers or subtracting any numbers, we always add the same place value spots together. We've never really thought about it usually because they're just that we just line them up and it's great. But with decimals, you have to pay a little more attention. So here we have 2/10 plus 2/100. These are two different amounts. One is tenths and one is hundredths. Even though they're both two, they're two different things. So we can't just do 2 plus 2 is 4 because it's like saying 2 bananas plus 2 oranges is 4 bananas. No, it's not. Or it's like saying 2 dimes plus 2 pennies is 4 cents, which it's not. So you got to line up the decimal. What? What? Line up the decimal? Have we heard that before?
Line up the decimals, 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 line up the decimals.
So you might be thinking, Ms. Wolf, we haven't done that in a while. That's because you don't have to line up the decimals when you're multiplying or when you're dividing, which we'll get to that more later. But you do have to line up the decimals when you're adding and subtracting. So you can see here, I have lined up all the decimals. And what do I do with empty spots? What do I do with empty spots? You can put zeros. Ta-da! So now I can just add straight down and we end up with 22 hundredths. Let's think about it for a second here. This is like, you could also just always think about it like money. That's 20 cents plus 2 cents, 22 cents. You know, I love to make decimals into money. I just think it's always easier. Okay, but what if the number doesn't have a decimal? How am I supposed to line it up if it doesn't have a decimal? I mean, look at this 3. There's no decimal there, except there is. It's just hiding. If you can't see the decimal, that means it is always at the end on the right side, and you can make it appear. Ho, ho, ho. Also, you think about it like money, right? $3 can also be written like this, can't it? Yep, yep, it can. So now that we have brought the decimal out of its hiding, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to line up the decimal, line up the decimal. See how I lined up the decimals? Lined up the decimals. And now we can just add straight down. Ba-boom. Hopefully you can get to a point where you do ones like this in your head. You can think about it like, oh, $3 plus 72 cents. That's $3.72. But it's also okay to write it all down. All right, so the most important thing to remember when adding decimals and also subtracting them is line up the decimals, line up the decimals. All right, there you have it.